Hello?
Hello?
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at. What's your favorite scary movie?
Hello and welcome to this What Do You Want to Watch discussion of the Explosion Network's ranking of the Scream films. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
I love stabbing people in the dark with my knife. Stabbing people who am I once or twice.
That's confession. We're going to use it later if one of us ever ends up murdered. Also joining us, Radio Watson's Buddy Watson.
Hello, what's happening?
Not much. What's your favourite scary movie?
It's actually Scream, so it's fitting that I'm actually here. So it's not only just like my favorite scary movie; it's in my top 5 movies of all time. So yeah, there you go. Spoilers. I love Scream franchise.
Okay. What's your favorite scary movie, Ashley Hobley?
Bambi?
Yeah, I was about to say.
What about you, Dylan? What's your favourite scary movie?
You're probably Scream.
Okay.
It's hard. I'd say Scream, yeah.
All right. The franchise, not necessarily the first movie.
Yeah, franchise, yeah. It's hard.
All right.
Because technically, I'd say the movie that scared me the most is 1408. That movie gives me the fucking heebie-jeebies.
All right. Yeah, so today we're talking about the Scream franchise. We've got an article up at explosion.com breaking down our rankings of all the films. We've each ranked them 1 to 5 of the movies released so far. We haven't seen 6 yet, believe it or not. We've each given them points, so highest one on our list gets 5 points, lowest one gets 1 point. You can fill out the best. And whoever gets the most points, obviously, is ranked highest. So yeah, any other overall thoughts of Scream before we jump into talking about each of these movies individually?
Yes, I will be massively shocked if Scream 1 doesn't pick up all maximum 15 points from us, and I'll be also as equally shocked as if Scream 3 doesn't pick up the lowest denomination of points, 3 that you can score amongst.
Well, I just want to say, I actually don't know. I haven't seen the results yet, so I don't even know. I'm coming into, only Ash knows the results.
I only know the results. Also should point out, I've only just watched these movies for the first time in the last week. Except for Scream 1, which we did do a what do we end up watching back on episode 51 of What Do You Want to Watch? If you want to go back and listen to that.
Which also featured me.
Which also featured Buddy.
Anytime we talk about Scream, get Buddy on.
Yeah. Have to. So yes, let's jump into our discussion about our rankings of Scream movies. Sitting at number 5 on our list, Scream 3.
California Women's Crisis Counseling. My name is Laura. How can I help you?
Laura, I do have a crisis. I've killed someone, Laura. Are you listening to me? Huh?
Who is this?
Just one question. Do you think it's over, Sydney? Do you? 15.
Who the fuck is this?
Somebody who killed to know where Sydney Prescott is.
What do you know about trilogies?
Well, all I know about movie trilogies is that when there's one, all bets are off.
Released February 4th, 2000. Directed by Wes Craven. Written by Kevin Williamson. Starring Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Parky Posey, Patrick Dempsey, Scott Foley, Lance Henriksen, Matt Kessler, Jenny McCarthy, Emily Mortimer, Dion Richmond, and Patrick Warburton. As bodies begin dropping around the set of Stab 3, a movie sequel based on the gruesome Woodsboro killings, Sydney and other survivors are once again drawn into a game of horror movie mayhem. With a budget of $40 million, it grossed $161.8 million, is ranked last on all of our lists. Buddy, why is this your least favourite Scream movie?
It's the least Scream movie that a Scream movie can be, and to be last on this list, I'd say if it's any other list, usually from a director or kind of cast list or something like that we would normally do franchise list, if it's last, it generally means I think that the movie's bad. Now, is Scream movie a bad movie? Maybe there's a good argument that it is, and I can shit on it all I want, but really I think it's just a bad Scream movie, and I would watch Scream 3 any day of the week if it was presented to me, because there are still enjoyable things that I like about Scream, but the worst Scream movie still beats a lot of the worst franchise movies in other horror franchises, or generally other horror movies or non-horror movies or other franchise kind of rankings as well. So even though it's the lowest on this list here, there's still things that I really enjoy about Scream. I think that just the rest of the franchise, particularly the first one and the second one coming off as a great sequel, sets such a high bar that it's almost the expectation of those two films that make this a bit of a letdown. So there's things that I love about it. I love Parker Posey. I think she's fantastic, playing kind of Gail Weathers' character in the Stab film. It is really funny. It's probably the funniest Scream movie, and I think there's a little bit like a little bit of backlash around that time when it was released in 2000 because of school shootings and stuff. I think it was Columbine era. There's a lot of rewrites for this film as well. I think it was supposed to be a little bit dark. It has Jay and Silent Bob as cameos. It has Carrie Fisher as cameo. It's really campy, and that's good for some things that I like. It's just it's kind of not why I like the Scream franchise. So still a lot of good things in it, but not the best in the series.
All right, Dylan, why is it your least favorite Scream movie?
Yeah, I would agree with what Buddy said. I would still watch this over a majority of other sort of worst horror sequels. It's still an enjoyable movie because I like the franchise, but the reason it's not as good is just because it feels off. It feels like it's rushed. It feels like it's being written as they're shooting it. Like the whole movie just has this weird feeling about it, and I think that's to do with the Columbine stuff and whatever else. Like the violence is toned down because of that, and you can very obviously tell there's this I don't mind the humor so much as just there's no balance to the seriousness of what's happening as well. I think the setup is fun, like having a Scream movie set entirely around a stab recording on a Hollywood lot and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I don't even mind the cameos and stuff because it sort of makes it meta. It's just I feel like as all these elements come together, do they come together well? Not really. It's just there's something that just feels off about it. And the villain, the most forgettable of all the big reveals of any. And Scream movies after the first one, they're always built upon two things: how do they start? And how do they end with the reveal? They're sort of if the reveal isn't good and the opening to the movie isn't good, it's sort of what's between doesn't even matter at that stage, I feel. So, because they're the two things Scream has going for it.
Yeah, there's three or four things that I really kind of narrow it down to why I don't like it. Roman, the worst Ghostface, and the only one where there's one Ghostface reveal to date, and a very weak Ghostface.
Are we going spoilery in this? I can't remember.
Yeah, fuck it, let's go. You haven't watched Scream franchise by now. Wake up to yourself. And then, right. So yeah, obviously Roman's a weak Ghostface. The other thing I really don't like is the Maureen Prescott kind of storyline with this and whole assault with Hollywood executives and taking advantage of her and all this kind of abuse and everything, which is kind of funny. It's kind of this not
super
funny,
relevant. Now.
Super
it's
relevant.
Weird to watch in
ironic
2023.
Yeah, and then it's Miramax and kind of the Weinsteins kind of are part of that. I really don't like that storyline, how it delved into that and the kind of retconning it more in Prescott's story with being Roman being the stepbrother and everything. So hated that. And yeah, the other thing that really pissed me off is the voice changer in this and how it can kind of manipulate everyone's
It's magical.
voices. It's the most magical thing of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
really, the movie predicted a lot of things. Harvey Weinstein and AI
voice tech,
voice tech.
So really, when you think about it, it was ahead of its time.
And what about you, Ash? You've watched all the films in the last week or so. So this is you got the freshest.
Yeah, I got the freshest take. This one's not the weakest. Is definitely the weakest. Like Dylan said, I think the key to any of these things is whether the reveal feels cool and works. It really doesn't feel like it does in this. You're wait, there was just one person this entire time. He was in that studio set and he was switching between the Ghostface suit and the Maureen blanket. I don't know. Is that like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, I guess it does make sense in that, you know, a lot of these trilogies like drop the ball on the third film. So, you know, it makes sense in regards that this being the third film, it is not as good as the other two. So, you know, it's very historic in that point. And yeah, I think it Mr. Andy, you know, he did, you know, sure, he makes a cameo from the dead, explaining trilogies and the third movie rules and that kind of stuff. I did feel like who the killer was going to be, it was maybe telegraphed. Like, it's like, oh, he's definitely going to be like Sydney's half brother or something like that. Like, purely based on like obviously all the Hollywood assault stuff, and then you're like, oh, okay, it did make. Although I did think it was going to be Patrick Dempsey, so I mean, it did surprise me a little.
It's a red herring.
The other big factor in Scream 3 is that in the previous two they make a lot of references, and the meta poking itself is like poking itself at the rules, at the horror genre itself, and the rights and the wrongs and the tropes. In this, it doesn't do that. The only thing it pokes fun at is Hollywood, but then it also pokes fun at the Scream movies in the form of stab movies. So it's almost poking fun at a fake metaverse. So it's not like, it doesn't hit as much for me as like, you know, don't run up the stairs or don't look outside or, you know, ask who's calling.
I will say that I sort of, in a bubble where they didn't make 4 or 5, I still like the ending. Like, even though I find it very weird that Patrick Dempsey's in their house at the end and he's like, were you that close that you just invited to hang out? Like, it's very weird. But the general vibe, like just the general thing where she leaves the door open and all that and she feels safe. I feel like it was at least a nice for what at the time was supposed to be the end of this trilogy. Yeah, she feels safe and everything. So
it almost felt too nice, you know?
Yeah, but I appreciate they didn't do I appreciate they didn't do a bullshit like typical horror movie thing where it's like she's like, oh, it's safe, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, like someone in Ghostface, like grabs and just that typical thing.
Yeah.
Credits.
Also, we'll say that the house was like the most kind of boring set piece, ending set piece. It's a house with a bunch of hidden mazes and doors and shit.
Haunted house.
Yeah. Although the mirror thing where she's trying to Parker Posey's behind the mirror, she can't say anything. Dewey just shoots them all out.
I love that. I actually love. It's so dorky because I make fun of how silly the movie is, but I actually love the scene when they're in the house and they're waiting for the facts to come through, and old mate runs back in and he dies from the rewrite. Everyone explodes and they go down here. Like that's so dumb, but that's like the kind of level of dumb that I can get on board with.
All right. Any other final thoughts on Scream 3?
Yeah, Parker Posey is amazing. She is the silliest thing in the movie, but she understands how silly it is. Neve Campbell as Sydney doesn't get that the movie is silly, and she's like straight facing it, and she's like, it's almost like a tug of war between those two characters to see who can ground and who can make the movie the silliest, and that's the only kind of reason why it semi-works in particular scenes either way. Any other scene where it doesn't work, where it's trying to be serious and it's not serious, or it's trying to be funny and it's not funny, is because that tug of war is out of balance.
Buddy, do you know what Patrick Dempsey's favourite scary movie is?
I don't know. What is it?
It's his life.
There you go.
Fucking hell. All right. Number 4 on our list. Scream 2.
2 Windsor College students were murdered last night during a sneak preview of the new movie Stab.
It's starting again, Randy.
This has nothing to do with us.
Randy, a guy in a ghost mask hacked up 2 people in a movie theater telling our life story.
Hi, Gail Weathers, author of the Woodsboro murders. Do you think the killer will strike again?
We have no evidence that this is a serial killer.
It's a classic case of life imitating art, imitating life.
Are you suggesting that someone's trying to make a real-life sequel?
Do you think someone's trying to duplicate Woodsboro?
It looks like it.
I think you have a copycat on your hands, Chief.
Hello?
Hello, Sydney. Remember me?
What do you want?
I want you. It's showtime.
Police are everywhere.
If there is some freaked out psycho trying to follow in Billy Loomis's footsteps, you probably already know.
Directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson, starring Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jamie Kennedy, Laurie Metcalf, Jerry O'Connell, Elsie Neal, Timothy Oliphant, Jada Pinkett, And Liev Schreiber, when two college students are murdered, a sneak preview of Stab, a movie based on the events from the first film. It's clear a copycat killer is on the loose. Sydney and Gal, as well as fellow survivors Deputy Dewey and Randy, have to find out who is behind this new murder spree before they all end up dead. On a budget of $24 million, it made $172.4 million. This is ranked 4th on all 3 of our lists.
Horror movies just made bank in the day, didn't they? Just hearing those budget numbers and what they got, they were ever reliable, just pumping out for low money, get the income.
That's James
back.
Wan at the moment, though. That's James Wan with like Insidious and stuff. I feel like he's the only one who can do the same sort of thing.
Right.
So yeah, Scream 2. 3 is literally the only one I have any like major like proper criticisms about. Yeah, really. I feel like the rest of the Scream movies, I'm like, these are all bangers. So it just does what a perfect sort of follow-up would do in a Scream universe. It both moves the franchise forward while at the same time doing what the first one did and looking at horror movie sequels. What do they do? What most horror movie sequels usually go wrong. Like I love the getting into the rules, the sudden like moving Sydney into the whatever, I don't know how the schools work in America, uni,
college,
whatever, college. Yeah, fucking, I don't know. It's confusing. Changing that all up, having the reveal at the end of the 2 characters. I think it was like this perfect tie-in of just Timmy Olyphant's just like this amazing weird dude, like just yelling and stuff, and it sort of fits in perfectly for the franchise when the original 2 killers are just crazy dudes, and the mother reveal I think fits. I still think is a really cool just way to tie it all into the first film and everything. Going back to bringing in what's his name, Liev Schreiber, that's the actor. Yeah, bringing in Liev Schreiber after he was like 2-3 seconds from the first movie when he's on like TV or whatever, like having him come back and do a full role now. Again, like I feel like this movie grabs every little thread that was introduced in the first one and does really well in both, building upon those in a serious way with the characters while also still poking fun at and pulling apart the horror movie sequel stereotypes and how these things usually go down the road. So really great kills, bang up soundtrack. I recently found out that Dewey's theme is used in it was actually from a different movie, but that's fine. It's yeah, a fun fact for you,
buddy. Thoughts on Scream 2?
So good. The opening kill is just amazing. Like, how do you ramp up the surprise of killing off Drew Barrymore, who's across all the marketing materials, and like a bit of a red herring, almost like a la Psycho. And yeah, just the whole movie thing, the meta narrative of like, this is the first time we see Stab outside of being referenced in Who's Going to Play Me in the movie. With Tori Spelling and that joke made in the first one, and Tori Spelling's actually in that, and David Schwimmer. So I like how that's kind of a thread that's continued on here. I like that there's, I guess, a female killer in this as well with Billy's mum, and it's almost like a harken back to other horror tropes like Friday the 13th.
Well, it's a reverse, because obviously in the first film, the question at the start of the film is like, who was the killer in Friday the 13th?
Yes,
that's
wrong. Right.
So then
and
it's
then
a reverse,
obviously also Psycho, even though that's kind of Norman
Bates,
dressing as a mother. That's pretty cool. I also like number one, there was Billy's motive, which was kind of from memory the movies, like the movies made me do it, or the media, and then Stu's like, what's he gonna say, peer pressure? And in this, it's almost I like the idea that Timothy Olyphant's character, who I cannot remember his name right now. Oh, why am I doing that? Max? Is it Max? Oh my god.
Oh, the characters have like 3 letters.
It's Mickey.
Mickey. It's Mickey. I'm an idiot. I like the idea that he wanted to get caught and kind of become infamous from it. So that was pretty cool. He'd never really had the idea that he was going to be like go out and guns blazing or that kind of stuff. So
again, interesting timing. This right before the Columbine stuff that we mentioned, like
and
using that excuse.
Yeah, and especially on kind of school campus or whatever. He is an absolute psychopath in this. He just has that serial killer look, the same as what Skeet Ulrich did as well. Yeah. That crazy hair. You know, he just got serial killer look, written all over him. They killed off a main character with Jamie Kennedy's character as well, Randy. So before they were the big 3, I guess, continuing to go through the through line of the franchise, they were a big 4, and to kill him off, which is the best character. I thought that was ballsy. red herrings are once again with Jerry O'Connell and the kind of the defensive wound. Yeah, we've got Sarah Michelle Gellar there, who's I Know What You Did Last Summer, Buffy. Just an awesome cast. Just a great sequel. The only thing I don't like about it is probably like all the like when she's doing the play and it's like she's having those visions and they're setting up the ghost face and having an anxiety
sort
attack.
of thing.
Yeah, all that stuff where she's in the play. I could go without, but it's not too bad. One of the most freakiest scenes in this is when they have the car crash and she has to crawl over his body and she's like debating like pulling off the mask, and then she looks back and oh man, that's so good.
That was it. That's when I watched this when I was a kid. That car scene was the one that like made me want to fast forward. too tense, like just like my heart rate.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one as well. I think, from here they're all bangers. They're all really good. It's just unfortunate that 4 does not go into 1 or 2 spots. Something has to be at 4. I think going in pretty much blind on this one, I did not expect all these prominent 90s actors to show up. It's like, oh my god, Jerry O'Connell's in this. Oh my god, Timothy Olyphant. Oh my god,
this is a big
Chicago.
franchise, Ash.
Like,
I know it's to you. Maybe it feels like this franchise just got rebirthed with the most recent one, but this franchise was big in the 90s.
I mean, it made $170 million. But like, right from the opening, and like them murdering 2 people, like pretty much in a crowd, is mental. And like, I don't think I've never been to a press screening that's like the environment in that Stab movie, but maybe that's
I'm not. Shut the fuck up! Like, sit down, Jesus Christ!
Watch a movie, I think really interesting. Like you said, that car scene was super tense. I will say they like lingered on the police officer's gun for a very long time, and then didn't. I thought she was going to go back and grab it. Never does. Come on, Sydney. The gun was right there. You could have shot her in the head. Or him, I don't know which one was which at that point. I think in the moment, I didn't love the Billy Loomis mother reveal. I'm like, what? This seems like tying it back for the sake of tying it back. But with a bit of time, I think I'd appreciate like the homage probably more than anything else. Like Buddy also said, like the whole acting thing seems very left field for Sydney after the first movie. You're treating her like she's this sole survivor, and now she wants to be an actress. That just doesn't seem like something that would actually happen. It is gratefully it's something they don't go down the road of in any of their films.
I like Sydney's hair in this too. There you go. I just thinking about 3 like with Gail and Courtney Cox's bangs, which are just hideous, and her hair in 3, Sydney's hair in 3, and how that's kind of super shortish.
I think everyone's hair in 3 is the worst.
The worst, yeah. But Sydney, I like her in this.
The short hair,
short hair. Sydney, let's go.
All right. It was like part of it. The other thing that's interesting is obviously this came out 12 months after the first movie, almost to the day.
Bang 'em out.
Which is they don't do that anymore.
They're about to.
They don't do that anymore, as it says, with Scream 6 about to come out almost 1 year and 2 months after Scream 5.
1 year, 2 months, that extra 2 months was a big difference, Any other final thoughts on Scream 2?
Yeah, I just want to say that one of my favorite things from this is nothing like it could just fit into a comedy movie. It's just the conversation about movie sequels never being as good as the originals. It's like just such one of those old time, just classic. I remember watching that and just like having that feeling as a kid, like I wish I had like classes like this where I could just talk about like
movies
with
stuff,
Joshua
like,
Jackson. Speaking of famous 90s actors,
this is completely unnecessary.
Is it a cameo? He's just an actor. It's not a cameo. It's just at the time he's not a big dude. It's just
he's in one of the biggest shows. He was the kid from the Mighty Ducks. No, A-lister.
Dawson's fucking Creek.
Yeah, Dawson's Creek. Yeah.
Produced and created by Kevin Williamson.
I wasn't. Oh, okay. See, there's the tie-in.
Didn't you know that? Yeah.
Fake fan.
Surprised then all the other Dawson's Creek people didn't show up in the other movies.
True, and they should have killed all of
Kevin
them.
Williamson didn't write the book.
Yeah, he doesn't even die.
You're right. He should have died. He would have been great to kill off.
Bring him back.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Forget. Kirby.
I do love the messed up moment of like her deciding not to rescue Jerry O'Connell. Because she is concerned that he's the killer.
Yeah, well,
I love that.
And then
flashbacks to 1.
Yeah,
it's like it makes no sense that he would be the killer, but okay.
But yeah, it's like PTSD and throwback because Billy has the same defensive wound on his arm, right? When he comes back into the house, so that's a good touch.
That's why she looks at him and is like, "Nope, like been through this before."
Yeah, I don't love you that much. All right, third film on our list. Now we get into the interesting part.
So now we get the interesting choices.
Number 3, Scream, 2022.
Hello?
It's happening. 3 attacks so far. Do you have a gun?
I'm Sydney Prescott. Of course I have a gun.
Something about this one just feels different.
Samantha? I know who you are. I've been through this a lot. This is your life now, which means that whoever this is going to keep coming for you. You ready for this?
Oh, stop. Wait. There's certain rules to surviving.
The attacks were all on people related to the original killers. Whatever his link is to our past, it's pulled us all back here. And I won't sleep until he's in the ground.
There you go.
Directed by Matt Bettinelli Olphin and Tyler Gillette. Written by Guy Busick and James Vanderbilt. Starring Melissa Barrera, Kyle Gallner, Mason Gooding, Mikey Madison, Dylan Minnette, Jenna Ortega, Jack Quaid, Jasmine Savoy Brown, Sonia Amar, Heather Matazzaro, Roger L. Jackson, Marley Shelton, Skeet Ulrich, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and Nev Campbell. 25 years after a streak of brutal murders shocked the quiet town of Woodsboro, a new killer has donned the ghost face mask and begins targeting a group of teenagers to resurrect secrets from the town's deadly past. Originally released January 14th, 2022. On a budget of $24 million, it made $140 million in the wake of COVID and cinemas not making much money. Dylan and I both ranked it number 3 on our lists. Buddy, you ranked it number 2. Why is it your second favorite Scream movie?
Probably because of the things that it does differently to 4 that didn't irk me as much as what it does in 4, but they're very, very close. On any given day, they could swap them over. Okay. We'll speak about 4 in a minute, I guess, and the things that
or 2 minutes.
No, we won't. Things I love about Scream 5 and the reboot. Is it the best movie? A lot of people saw this and like, you know what? Nah, Scream's now, which I didn't really get. I thought it was fantastic. Being a Scream fan, they kind of mostly they put it out and it's just not Scream 3. I'm going to eat it up. The things that they do really well in this is establishing the new characters and the whole reviving almost a Randy character is great, and having that's something I really liked from the Scream TV show. You had Noah and Audrey, and they had that relationship there with the podcast. It was almost like Randy split into 2 characters and how they fared. The thing they do here is great. The homage to Scream 1 with their opening, and Jenna Ortega I thought was going to get wiped out, but she actually lives. That's fantastic. We get the flashbacks to Billy's character being the daughter of Billy, and I think once again, this was a brave decision. I didn't know how I felt watching it at the time, but on more reflection, I really enjoyed that was kind of an arc. And then, the killers are fantastic at the end. The reveal is awesome. I really feel like the new characters get the shine once again, and the fact that they all live and get to kind of progress into the next one is fantastic. And killing off Dewey, heartbreak. That hospital scene was fantastic. Things that Scream 4 lacked in straight up violence kills, and Scream 3 lacked in just being like a little bit slapstick and being a bit funny. they brought back those kind of tense moments. The day kill was fantastic, and the intensity that was the build up to that. The whole hospital scene as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I love about the latest Scream, and the motive in this once again is not linked back to Maureen Prescott or the original Screams. It's to do with the Scream fandom, and this was almost the ending of Scream 3. I think it was rewritten. Like Kevin Williamson had that idea that it was going to be this as the ending with like some toxic fans that didn't want the franchise to be so. So I'm glad that they kind of brought that back around and put it into Scream 5 when it was initially going to be in Scream 3. And the idea of the whole Ryan Johnson stuff, Stab 6 and ruining the franchises and the meta joke.
That's why that's why I got downgraded, because of that joke.
Yeah, and toxic Reddit commenters and fan fiction and wanting to like rewrite their own movie, not happy with that. And kind of them meeting on the forums and kind of molding her or whatever. There's so many good things. The meta stuff hits on the next level. They break the mold with the opening kills. I love Scream 5, sorry.
Dylan.
Ashley.
Was number 3 on your list, yeah.
So it was one of my favorite movies. It made my top 10 last year, obviously. So yeah, really, really, again, we're pulling hairs here. I don't dislike any of these movies. Really, yeah, the thing that stood out to me the most watching this for the first time was the opening and that Jenna surviving. I was like, okay, like you can do that, like that's allowed to be a thing. And then that scene where they just go and make fun of the whole, like tying it into not only just calling the movie Scream, and then just doing this whole conversation about these legacy sequels, angry fanboys online complaining about Star Wars and whatever else. I was like, I just thought it was the funniest fucking conversation I'd heard in a movie for a while, because I'm like, man, they get it. Like, it's just because, and it just makes me wonder, like, how many people watching this and like are those people, and they just don't really like have enough self-awareness to realize what's going on. The other funniest thing to me about this movie is in a world where they're sort of like pointing out how dumb sort of Star Wars and some of these things go with the fanboys and whatever, that they managed to do what Star Wars Rise of Skywalker wished it could do. They have a main character who's like the daughter of a big villain, and then asking all these questions about, does your lineage make you who you are and whatever else. But this movie does it, because it's in there from the start, and compared to Star Wars, where they just tacked it on in the third film, like, Palpatine. He somehow returned.
Sam's in the movie's like, who's my dad? She's like, you're Sam Skywalker.
Sam Skywalker, yeah. Fucking imagine. It would be terrible. I love but I think the reason this movie resonates with so many people is because it brought back Scream with focus primarily on new cast, and it done what legacy sequels do well. Like, Force Awakens did this well as well, if you want to like bring back a Star Wars, where that movie, at least that one, did use the legacy characters to help push the new characters and introduce them. And at the end of Force Awakens, they're left at a place of like, okay, like, yeah, nearly. And they're left at a place where they could sort of run their own movie in a sequel. This movie does the same sort of thing, where I feel like, the legacy characters, Dewey's just sort of the Han Solo coming along for this ride, where the main character, and he dies as well as Han Solo. They are both, but the main cast are all really good and really interesting. And although some of them have those same sort of feelings and like, they're sort of this movie's version of this character from the original, they're all different enough that stand out, and they make you care about them when they actually die or potentially could die. And then, when you see a trailer for the new one that's about to come out, obviously, and you see that they're all the ones who survived are returning, you're like, oh yeah, great. Like you're not like, oh fuck that character. Like you're glad to get to spend some more time with them. So yeah, really, really good.
Yeah, I obviously really enjoyed it as well. I think I love their take on the re-sequel or legacy sequel, or that whole conversation, and pretty much the mirroring of Randy, into the extent where she's watching Stab, and it's
almost
like,
in the same clothes.
Yeah,
pretty much, almost the exact same things happening. That's really enjoyable. I feel like this one cemented for me that what I loved about this series so far has kind of been the relationship between Dewey and Gale, which I feel is the real core of the movie. Sure, Sydney's been, front and center, but it was about Gale and Dewey, their love story over the five movies, and then obviously falling apart, coming back together slightly for a moment, and then him dying in this was super brutal and pretty devastating. That whole hospital sequence, right from the moment she gets out of bed, incredible. I will say I was very surprised that Jenna Ortega was in the start of the movie, because obviously I haven't seen it, but I've seen her in the trailers. I'm like, what? She's getting stabbed like 6-7 times. How's she's gonna survive this? She's some sort of zombie? Is this is this some sort of meta thing where she's filming a version of Stab or something? I don't know. Yeah. But even that opening sequence and yeah, even the her talking about elevated horror and stuff, it's like such a thing compared to a modern horror sensibility. Her loving the Babadook and not caring about any of these Stab movies at all. The reveal, really cool. I enjoyed it. Jack Quaid kind of playing against type, I guess. Because, he's been the super likable person in pretty much everything that he's kind of been in. So for him to turn out to be the killer was really good. I think maybe the only major gripe is hey, it's kind of weird that out of the core group that we see at the start of the film, only 2 die out of that main group of new characters. Well, I guess 3.
Yeah,
one of them's killer. 4, I guess, if you include Jack Quaid. So
the biker dude dies. Yeah, but they kill a legacy character. Ash, come on.
Yeah, they do. Well, I guess they kill 2.
They killed Dewey and they killed Sydney. Is she in the sequel? No, she died.
No, they killed the new sheriff who was in the number 4. So it's a legacy character, I guess. Yeah, that was all super. It was super enjoyable. I think like you said, the day kill was really well done, and the build up of the tension of him just wandering through that house for a good 10 minutes, just preparing to eat sushi.
Bait outs on typical horror reveals of the fridge door closing and the killer being there and stuff. They just do it so many times, and every time you're watching it for the first time, you're just like, this one will be it. This one will be it. This one will be it, and they never do it.
There's people giggling in our screening.
Mine too. I remember watching it and they were like, oh, and then there'll be nothing and you'll just hear oh, you got me, and then they're like, you got me again.
Yeah, I think this one was more gruesome and more bloody than maybe the other ones as well.
Yeah, 100%. Number 4 is pretty gruesome as well, but
yeah, this one and 4 are the most violent, I'd say, out of all.
I would say this one's more violent. 4 is a little bit more cartoony, in some of its kills and that kind of stuff. This one, he shoves a knife through Tilmanet's throat. I don't think I've seen a knife wound like that before. Pretty brutal. And also, his shower scene is a very nice reversal of all the shower scenes from all the Stab movies. So yeah, that was really enjoyable. I do love the inclusion of Billy Loomis and him being a hallucination in Sam's head, even though the digi-aging technology is not fantastic. It does a solid enough job to do for what's required.
I thought it was fine. I don't think
and I do think it leaves a very interesting point in which the movies could go forward, and we'll probably talk about that towards the end of the episode. Yeah.
The one thing I want to touch on that I think it does really well is establish Sam and Tara as this, they are sisters or half sisters or whatever it's established that they are. But not having a great relationship, but almost having that by the end of it, brought together through joint trauma and almost mirroring Sydney and Gail's relationship through the franchise and how they, didn't really like each other because of the coverage of her mum and everything, but they've almost got this sisterhood themselves through living through that together. I just like how that's kind of parallels.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other final thoughts on Scream 2022?
No, I love how they still do the 90s credit scene. I still just like they make sure to do the names on everyone that all the Scream movies do. I was coming for some reason when I sat down and watched this last year. I was like, fuck, they better not get rid of the classic like sort of 90s credit sequence, but no, they kept it.
No, it's coming back between this and Top Gun Maverick. You know?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Naming a character Wes, killing him off, and having an in-movie party for Wes as a celebration of Wes Craven was fantastic. And once again, another banger soundtrack with Salem Watts as the closing credits, and then 070 Shake with Guilty Conscience setting up the party scene, established kind of what the vibe is in modern times with music and what they would listen to now, kind of what they had back with Youth of America with Bird Brain from number one. So another good use of contextual music.
All right.
Also, want to shout out to Mikey Madison because she gets burnt in this, and she gets burnt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So
yeah, her career's on fire.
Her career's on fire.
Oh. All right, number 2 on our list.
Here we go.
Scream 4.
Here is my Woodsboro Massacre anniversary question. What is your favorite scary movie?
What's your favorite scary movie?
One generation's tragedy is the next one's joke.
What is your favorite scary movie, man?
I'll show you.
This week marks the anniversary of the infamous Woodsboro murders. Local celebrity victim Sydney Prescott chose to return to her hometown.
Welcome home, Sydney. Watch the preview of coming events.
What do you want?
Who is this?
He's trying to do Ghostface.
I'm standing in the closet.
Liar. Dewey, what's going on?
It is not public information.
It's all over the internet.
It is?
There's a killer out there patterning his murders after the original movie.
It's time for someone new to die.
Hashtag save the cheerleader.
Released April 15th, 2011, directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson, starring Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Emma Roberts, Hayden Panettiere, Anthony Anderson, Alison Brie, Adam Brody, Rory Culkin, Royal Jaffe, Eric Knudsen, Mary McDonnell, Marley Shelton, Nico Tortorella, and Roger L. Jackson. It's been many years since the Ghostface Killer cut a deadly path through the town of Woodsboro. In order to get over the trauma of those horrific events, Sydney Prescott has written a self-help book. She returns to Woodsboro for her book tour and reconnects with her old friends Gal Weathers and Sheriff Dewey. However, Sydney's arrival also sparks the return of Ghostface, putting Sydney and everyone she loves in danger. On a budget of $40 million, it only raked in $97.2 million. This was number 3 on Buddy's list. This was number 2 on my list. This was number 1 on Dylan's list. Dylan, why is it your favourite Scream movie?
Ever since I've watched this, when 2011 or whatever it came out, I remember coming home from cinema just like ecstatic, thinking this was they've done it. Like they've made a sequel that not only is at least as good as, maybe better. And as time passed, I slowly accepted that I think this is a better Scream movie, just than the first one. And I thought it was so ahead of its time, and I still stand by that. Like over 10 years later, I just think the use of this plot around a killer just wanting fame and like being obsessed with like social media infamy and all these sorts of things. I swear they could just make this exact same story now with and they're just filming it live streaming on TikTok and it still just works. Like I just think that the characterization was just maybe a bit too ahead of its time. But I like also how this one coming out mid 2000s, where at the point of so they come back to this one, they're like, okay, so what are horror movies now? Like, what are we looking at? What's big in the cinemas at this time? It's Hostel, it's Saw, it's all these big shock horror movies, where it's just mostly about the kills. And although they don't go for the same level of gore here, they try and do this thing where every kill's just sort of ridiculously over the top. So people falling from 10-foot story buildings and whatever else. Like they're trying to, at the time it was the goriest. And again, I don't know if this one, I feel like this one and 5 are just equally sort of, I don't know, the most bloody out old franchise. So, but at the time, they purposely tried to make this more bloody because it's like that's what people want. That's what people want, this shock factor thing. It's not actually about the kills. It doesn't matter about the characters anymore. It's just people want fucking violence because that's what was ruling the cinemas at the time. I love Emma Roberts in this, especially once you get the reveal at the end. I think she's just this fantastic, fucking psychotic little bitch. She is. It's to be completely honest, she's a little bitch, but like it's just perfect the way she plays it. I think, and the swerve, like. Yeah, again, like the first time watching this, and after that, you think everything's fine. They go to the hospital, and you have this reveal. You're like, "Holy shit! She just killed Sydney! Like, what the fuck? Like, is this like how is this gonna happen?" Like, and then when it like cuts to the hospital, and you have that cut, Dewey's like talking to her, and then like, oh, they may think she's pulled through, and you're like, oh god, like, and you sort of your heart rate picks up as you can tell that hers does because she like for different reasons. You're like, oh, good, Sydney survived, but also, oh fuck, Sydney may die yet. Like, let's see how this comes through. So. I love all the characters. Again, like obviously, Kirby's sort of become a odd fan favorite. I think it's just because people like she's just I don't like. Is there like a stereotype for just like cool girl character? I feel like that's what she just fits into. Like, there's nothing in this that makes her like stand out a lot, other than she dresses cool, she has a cool haircut, she acts cool, she talks shit to the guys, she knows her shit. So I'm down with her coming back, but it's nothing about like her character. It's just she's a cool girl, and everyone's like just wants her to come back for that reason. I think so. But yeah, there's a bunch of other people in this. I think I like I can't remember the sheriff or the deputy in this one where you have Jewett. Like, I think she was a really good introduction, obviously prior to her coming back for the next one. Adrian Brody, I really like in this too because he's just absolutely hopeless. Sorry, Adam Brody alongside.
Can you imagine if it was Adrian?
Yeah, imagine if it was Adrian Brody alongside what's his name, Anthony Anderson.
Yeah,
really cool. There's a lot of just the opening to this movie too is I don't know. The opening to Scream 1
literally gave me whiplash.
It's classic. Scream 1 is classic. You will never beat it. This is my favorite opening second to Scream 1 though, just because I remember sitting there watching it, and I got whiplash like the first time watching it, be like, what am I like? Am I watching fucking Scream or am I watching Scary Movie? Because it just felt like sort of ridiculous, which I guess was the point. But I think it was really, really fun. So I just think this movie meta commentary to me is the best, like social and on movies itself.
All right, buddy.
Scream 4's opening is the worst of the franchise. It sucks. Whoa! Like you said, the whiplash, the kills, and then like watching the movie within the movie and having like it's dumb. Does it have some cool commentary? Yeah, sure, it does. But I feel like it's like commentary for the sake of commentary without implementing it as smart as what it could be previously done. And you think about all the other opening kills we had, even taking 5 into a factor, I think just there's...
She didn't even kill him in 5.
Yeah, the start, like you said before, Dylan, the start and the end, the Scream movies, like they're so kind of have big expectations of what they are. I feel like this was just, could have been something way, way better. And before, like, talking about Kirby as a character, yeah, she has all these cool traits and everything, but I feel like as a performance, she is like a cut above everyone else, and some of the dialogue in this feels so weird and stilted and like it's just read off a page, whereas like Hayden Panettiere, with how she performs it, not just her character but the way she does her line delivery, but then also her non-verbal and the way she's like looking, or I think she's just fantastic. I think she like owns every scene that she's in. So the only part I really don't like is the opening, and that's probably why it falls back to kind of 4 and 5. Maybe that's just the one thing, but they could swap on any given day because, like you're saying before, I love the whole idea of like bringing in the streaming element. It's in line with kind of that period there, that era's YouTube, Vine, kind of using the internet to become famous. The killer kind of live streaming kills. Jill and having like that being the motive and being have the infamy and wanting to survive and be almost like, okay, cool, I want to be the final girl, and using that as a motive to be a serial killer. I think it's just awesome. And then, it's super gory as well, which is something that we see in number 1 with the opening kill with Casey, with organs wrapped around her
The
and stuff. And we get
organs, yeah.
a little bit more creative kills here and there. But I think that goes away from a little bit of that in number 3. So it's almost like a return to seeing that element of gore and violence. And then, yeah, it's just quite good.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one a lot. Lots of fun meta commentary. My take on opening, it was enjoyable, but obviously it was an interesting twist on what they'd done the last couple of opening movies. You know, the opening kills, you know, made it feel a bit different. Obviously setting up also how big this Stab franchise has kind of been, and also kind of setting the road for it to have been like, oh, this franchise has gone off the road. When the 7th movie opens with them watching the 6th movie, that's kind of
I mean, too, we find out in
explains a
Scream
lot.
5 that they're talking about Scream 8 or whatever, where they go to space or whatever. Like,
yeah, I mean, you get to kill 6 people in the first opening, I guess. You know, it's a good way to work it, and obviously it's interesting to see the people who they were cast. Like, it's like, oh my god, that's Kristen Bell and Anna Paquin. That's so weird.
It's funny looking back now. It's almost a meta commentary on how shit the Fast and the Furious franchises and how that's deteriorated over age, and they're going to end up in space.
Wow. I do. Yeah, I love. Obviously, the highlight is obviously Emma Roberts' reveal of like her being behind kind of everything. Or even like Rory Culkin's character, like revealing he's a killer as well, I guess. And obviously him having the thing with Kirby the entire time, and she saves him, and then he stabs him in the chest like a fucking bitch. But then, yeah, the whole sequence of obviously she kills Emma Roberts kills Rory, and then I think the thing that really sold it for me was her going through the process of staging it, which I don't think
Edward
anybody
Norton in Fight Club.
No, because every other film they're like, "Oh, we're gonna set it up to make it look like you'd perform the murder and everything," but they never get to that point. But now she gets to the point of like almost pulling it off, almost getting away with it. Just her doing the through the glass table, you know.
she would have got away with it. Is the
Like,
thing.
if only
Wasn't for the meddling
not the
kids.
meddling kid. Which actually brings me to the other point that this one kind of sets Sydney up as like an action star. Like, she's running to that house. Last time we saw her, she's like
Running away.
Yeah, running away, locking herself in. This one, she's barging into that house trying to get that ghost face. It's like very different Sydney to the one we saw at the end of, or in 3. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. And also how that weirdly, her story kind of weirdly mirrors the story of Halloween and of Jamie Lee Curtis's character, where she also was gonna lock herself in, like kind of turned herself into an action star. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but yeah, obviously the killer reveal and like her final death as well, of being electrocuted and then shot in the head, because of course you have to be shot in the head.
After they come back.
They always come back. Even though she was full on smoking her brains out. And even before that, her eye was like fully like bloodied up and shit. Oh man,
Doesn't matter.
Hospitals, am I right? Also, I don't believe any hospital is ever that quiet where someone can just sneak around like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're very busy and overcrowded.
No visitors after certain hours, you know?
Yeah, but you know, somebody would hear. Alright, any other thoughts on Scream 4?
No, I just like again, you get 2 characters who are the movie dudes this time, which makes for a fun thing. So you get the meta commentary on sequels and whatever else, which I feel is fun, and I enjoy this movie swerve of, because they make out like it's an actual reboot of the franchise, and I guess coming into it you think it maybe is going to be a reboot of the franchise, and they're like, oh, it's following the kills and whatever else, but it's not. It's up until the barn scene where they suddenly swerve it, and it's not actually just a recreation of the first one.
Yep. Also, it was good to see Alison Brie in this. I don't know what exactly where in the timeline is. I feel like it must be mid-Community.
This
period.
is what, season 3 of Community, I think. Around then, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, I love the use of different cameras. Like, obviously, you've got all these web cameras going around, and then he's also doing the live stream thing, which seems very I don't know if anybody ever did use the equipment like that.
I mean,
what's he transmitting it to? His phone?
Old mate's fucking founding Twitch.
I was going to say, don't say people don't do that when people literally walk around live streaming their lives. This movie is a million times ahead of itself. People literally do that on Twitch now, and they're some of the biggest stars.
All right. So, unsurprisingly, number 1 on our list, Scream.
Someone is playing a deadly game.
It all began with a scream over 911.
Someone who's seen one too many scary movies. Now, he's taken his love of fear
Hello?
Hello, Sydney.
one step too far.
Do you like scary movies?
What's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a scary movie. Number 1, you can never have sex.
This me.
Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, say, "I'll be right back," because you won't be back. Get another beer. You want one? Yeah, sure. I'll be right back.
He didn't make the rules.
The police are always off track. If they watch prom night, they'd save time.
He just kills by them.
Released December 20th, 1996. Directed by Wes Craven. Written by Kevin Williamson. Starring Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Matthew Lillard, Rose McGowan, Skeet Ulrich, Jamie Kennedy, and Drew Barrymore. The sleep little town of Woodsboro just woke up screaming. There's a killer in their midst who's seen a few too scary movies. Suddenly, nobody's safe as the psychopath stalks victims, taunts them with trivia questions, then rips them to bloody shreds. It could be anyone. On a budget of $14 to $15 million, it made $173 million. Is ranked number 1 on me and Buddy's list, and is ranked number 2 on Dylan's. Buddy, why is this your favorite Scream movie?
Fucking contrarian, Dylan. Why? It is the best Scream movie. It's where it all started. It's kind of revived the whole slasher genre. It spawns I Know What You Did Last Summer. We get H2O, which is also Kevin Williamson as well. It reinvigorates the horror genre by almost poking fun at itself and playing with it. Wes Craven making fun of himself even. It's just iconic. The way it kind of, the whole opening scene, like you said, it's synonymous with Scream and not just being like a Scream thing, but almost, one of the best openings in horror, period. The two killers, the swerves. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of hard to sum up in a quick little blurb, but it's just iconic.
All right. Dylan, why do you hate Scream?
Here's this. Oh, you're ranked at number 2. Why do you hate it? So Scream, but again, like one of the greatest horror movies of all time. Everything Buddy said. It's sort of hard to talk about, I guess, the movie in 2023, especially if you're someone who's only just come into the franchise after the new one and you don't fully understand, I guess, how big this was at the time and how much they baited and switched it. Like, I don't feel like people could fully appreciate the whole Drew Barrymore on the posters as this lead. Everyone's sitting down in the cinema thinking she's, she's the star of the movie, and it's about her. She's been on all the posters. She's in the trailers. Everyone's been watching, So, and then she gets killed. It's like, I don't think you can. Yeah, you really can't just put that into an understanding for like how it worked and how different that was for horror movies at the time. So I also just think I love the way that this movie shows that you can both. I feel like whenever people talk about like parodying and meta comedy, it always like falls under comedy territory. And Scream shows that you can do those things while still doing a legit movie. Like it's not a dumb movie. It's a legit horror movie that is both poking fun at and pulling apart the the horror genre at the same time, which Wes Craven was more than happy to do several times throughout his career, even with Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know about this. I actually literally like returned for, I think it's like the 5th or 6th, whatever it is, Nightmare on Elm Street movie, where it's set in real life with the original actress who was in the first movie, and Freddy starts haunting the actual actress. It's very meta, but it just shows that Wes Craven was a dude who was very comfortable with both pulling apart his own movies as well as a genre that he loved and adored. So one of a kind, and obviously, super sad that he, couldn't live forever and keep making movies. But it's one of the old time classics. It's got this great characters. It spawned all these sequels. We're still talking about it. How many years it is now, 25 years plus later. It just goes to show that it is the slasher to me. I know for some people, Halloween or whatever is their go-to, like it is the slasher, but Scream to me is just the quintessential slasher movie. Like no one, to me, Ghostface that's the guy. That's, or whatever, like them.
The guys.
The guys, yeah. That is the slasher character. To me, it's not Jason. It's not Mike Myers, it's Ghostface.
God, Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich absolutely kill it in this, 100%. And one thing you touched on before that I really like is that Wes Craven, he's like poking fun at the genre and all the tropes and everything, but he's never, I feel like he's never insulting your intelligence as someone who likes horror movies in this as well.
Yeah,
whereas other movies you like, that would do that, so.
It's not a non-horror genre person making a movie making fun of the genre. It's a through and through genre fan who has made some of the biggest horror genre movies. Be that bloody Nightmare on Elm Street through to whatever else, and they're fully capable at pulling apart and critiquing stuff themselves, which is really good. And I don't feel like you could say many people are able to do that as directors or of any or even like writers, book writers, whatever. So.
Yeah, obviously classic, great opening, very tense. I think the key thing is it's just really smart. Like, the whole plan that they set out is like, that's kind of foolproof. Like, they set up these murders. The motivation is quite interesting. It's like, he wanted to kill Sid's mum because she was fucking his dad. That seems like a reason to go after him. It just goes to show you should follow your gut instinct. It was him all along. She had him right, had him pegged. She was staying away with you.
Had him locked up. Yeah,
had him locked up, but then you have to let him back into your life. Which is also an interesting twist in 4 that I didn't mention, of setting up the boyfriend to be the killer, and like you think it's definitely going to be him, but it's not. And then obviously all the different characters you've got, Dewey and Randy, like setting up all the different rules and explaining everything, and then watching Halloween, and Gal Weathers being like this intrepid reporter who's trying to get this story. Really enjoyable, some really interesting kills. Like obviously you've got the Rose McGowan in the
so good.
I don't know if that would actually happen. I feel like those the doors might be designed to stop when it suffers resistance
these days, only because of Rose McGowan's death in this movie that they changed the design.
Maybe before 1997 it was
I don't know, but I never looked at a garage door the same way again after that.
Yeah.
I definitely respected and feared them a lot more than what I
You're definitely not
did
putting
beforehand.
a doggy door in the middle.
No way.
Just really good, and obviously very gruesome and bloody. The Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich partnership was enjoyable in their big reveal scene. Him accidentally stabbing him too much, and a little woozy there.
I think I'm dying, man.
Just everything Matthew Lillard says in this movie is fantastic. So, obviously setting the groundwork for everything that would come over the next 25 years. You can't. Kind of faultless. Even Henry Winkler being the weird, creepy principal.
Has the shears cutting up the mask. That's psycho.
I haven't talked about because he's not Stanley C. Winsborn, but Wes Craven has a cameo in all these movies, by the way.
In 5? No.
He's actually wearing a Freddy jumper in, I think it's 4 or 3, one of them.
Yeah,
Like
I think he was walking on the set in 3. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like the people like making fun of him in the school. That's like such a realistic thing that would happen in a school. Just being kids being dicks, running around with a ghost face mask. And the scariest thing is it could all be true. You know, some psycho could just choose to get a costume from anywhere and go murder a bunch of people.
You watch the movie now as an adult, it's like more comedy than horror, but at the time watching it, that was the biggest difference between a Jason, a Michael, or Freddy, that holy shit, this was so grounded that this could be real, this could happen, this could be something that's based on a true story.
It literally could be your best friend.
Believable, so yeah, that's how fucked up the world is.
Because I don't know
worse
just
now.
Go on to this, because obviously we know when, I can't remember if we went over this last time, I can't remember. When did you watch this for the first time, buddy?
So don't know if it came out cinema here, but whenever it hit the video store initially, I think maybe straight to DVD, my pop brought it and then we watched it. When it came
DVD
out.
is a thing in 1997?
Fuck, it might have been VHS.
Yeah.
It's probably is VHS then.
Yeah. Yeah, because
So,
they're getting
watched...
taped in the store, so you know.
Yeah. It's probably that then.
I watched it. I think it was grade 6. A friend had found it at like the $2 like chicken feed. I think that's just a Tasmanian thing, but it's like a cheap little store to have like $2 DVDs, and he'd brought this movie just on a whim and watched it, and he was telling me about it at school. So I went and they sold it to me, even though they shouldn't have, because I was in grade 6 and it was MA or whatever. And I brought it home and watched it, and then my mum found it and was like irate. Like she was so pissed off. She's like, "How'd you even buy this and how'd you afford it?" I'm like, "Mum, it was $2 at chicken feed." Like it was just, yeah, so it was a word of mouth like through school in grade 6 for it. And then my dad stood up for it. He's like, "It's fine." And I was like, "Dad, can you get me the other ones?" And he got me the rest. So he got me 2 and 3. Yeah.
What, you would have been like 11?
Yeah, I was like 11.
I guess that's okay. All right. Anything else on Scream?
No, classic. Love it.
Classic. Just beautifully formatted and template for the rest of the films to come. I guess coming back to Scream 6, we're a couple of weeks away. What are your hopes, dreams, expectations?
I'll tell you my first thing, that I don't see any of the spoilers that are apparently going around the internet, and none of those come across my Twitter feed, so that would be nice.
Twitter's is broken. Twitter's too
That's
broken.
true.
From the
I'm going to have to cancel my account, because apparently you got to pay for two-factor authorization now. So, see how long that lasts. See how long that lasts. I don't know, honestly. I feel like the most exciting thing for this is other than 3, it's the most outside the normal setting, I guess, which is exciting. So I'm like, okay, so we're trying this again. We're getting away from the small town vibes and all these. Let's see how it goes this time around. And knowing that it's those two / Radio Silence, because I can never remember their names, but directing it and returning from the last one, I have such faith in them that I honestly don't need to watch any more trailers. I probably will, because I can't help myself. I haven't watched that last TV spot that went around. So I don't need to watch anything. I don't need to know anything. I'm super excited. I don't know. I think it's super interesting what they've shown so far with all the costumes. So I still can't decide if that's someone collecting the real costumes, because that's the key point of discussion. Is it someone collecting costumes from the actual killers, or is it someone collecting like stab costumes? Because that's we don't know what it is to go there. So obviously they're going down the road of a super fan either way, which I think is going to be interesting. But no, I'm just super excited knowing that the film, at least as far as I'm concerned, is in really good hands with these directors.
Yep, buddy.
I have zero expectations, which is exciting. I really don't know where they're going to go with it. We have 4 characters that they gave a lot of time to in Scream 5 and like develop them outside of your original 3, which is now obviously 2 or 1 if Sydney doesn't return with Nev Campbell and the whole pay dispute thing. I'm really hoping that in some world that was like a thing that they came up and set up in the media as a real thing, knowing that Sydney was always going to come back and have a part, and they just planted that to throw everyone off. That would be the most meta and Scream-like move if they did. So part of me really wants that to be a thing, just for Nev Campbell's sake, that story isn't true and that they didn't come to that kind of thing. But then another big part of me wants to kind of move on from those characters. Like I said, they gave more time to the twins, Tara and Sam as well. Let's move on now with these characters and see what they've got. I actually liked that the original 3 didn't get as much time in Scream 5, so maybe reverting back to the Gale and Sydney show might not be as good. But
Gale just dies in opening.
Sorry?
Gale dies in opening.
As long as they don't kill Kirby off or make Kirby the killer. I don't want Kirby to be the killer.
I'd hate that, yeah.
That would be a terrible thing. I don't want them to revert back to one killer as well. On number 3, that's the weakest Scream. And not just, I don't think it was the weakest Scream because of that decision, but so much of the Scream DNA is having 2 killers. So I think to have 2 or even more killers is a thing that works. So I don't like the idea that it's just one killer, and we like to think that it can pop up kind of and be everywhere all at once.
It's gonna be like 100 killers. It's like the whole, it's like Batman.
It's like Uber. It's like overkill.
It's like a sleeper cell. Yeah. So yeah, don't kill Kirby. Go have multiple killers, and wow me.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to experiencing my first Scream in the cinema. Just
whoa, that's a funny concept, right? Okay,
yeah. It's going to play different. I won't be able to distract myself with things to get to chance. But yeah, I'm interested to see where they take the Sam character, because obviously it ends 5 with her covered in blood and like very viciously stabbing Jack Wade. And whether
she wipes the blood the same way that Billy wipes the blood when he does a kill as well.
I don't know if they'll necessarily go down the road of her becoming Ghostface in this movie, but that could be a direction they go in the future, which I think would be quite interesting to tell a Scream movie from the perspective of somebody of the Ghostface killer.
That face. What's that movie? I can't remember Peeping Tom. I think that's the OG sort of like from the perspective of the killer sort of thing. So,
I kind of hope they steer away from Sydney. She's got a family. Let her be happy. She doesn't need to be involved with all these murders. And clearly set it up for the next movie where they come and try and kill her family. But yeah, I'm keen to see where they go. I like the superfan direction potentially, or at least some sort of weird collector dude. There's a lot to be excited about. Scream 6. Any final thoughts before I wrap things up?
Scream's all time. Get on it. You're probably on it already. But if you don't have it up there as all time, you're tripping. # Team Kirby.
Alright, let us know your expectations of Scream 6 and, of course, your Scream film rankings by letting us know on Twitter by going to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter or jump to our Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars, and you can leave 5 stars. Or visit explosionnetwork.com, check out our ranked article or any of our news, reviews, and podcasts that we do. And if you like this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Cove page at explosion.com/support. Thank you, Buddy, for coming on doing this episode with us. People, of course, can find you on Twitter at BuddyWatson12, or they can find Radio Watson at Radio Watson _ on Twitter or Instagram, or all good podcast
services, even the bad ones as well.
Just any podcast services.
Yeah,
they can find Radio Watson.
Buy 2 tin cans, put some string together.